Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight's lesson is on numerical or number expressions, 2-2. And our goal is, today I will interpret, which means to make sense of, and write expressions. Okay, our vocab tonight is based on the 4 operations. So the first one is the difference. The difference is subtraction. Sum is an addition answer. So it's an addition answer. Product is a multiplication answer. Oops, my pen's running out there. Sorry. Multiplication answer. So multiplication. And quotient is a division answer. Okay, our steps tonight are, first, we're going to underline the 2 parts of the problem. So our problems are always going to have 2 parts. So we're going to have to kind of identify them, find them, and then underline them. Then we're going to ask ourselves, what will I need to do first? And we're going to circle it. Okay, so we're going to circle what needs to happen first. And there'll be some clues in different problems to tell us what we're going to need to do first. Then we're going to need to write an expression. Remember, an expression from our last lesson is a problem without an equal sign. So we're going to write a problem or an expression, making it clear what needs to happen first by using parentheses. Remember, parentheses is first in PEMDAS, or order of operations. So parentheses will tell us that that's what you need to solve first. Okay, so let's look at some of these. Okay, my first one is right here. Add 5 and 6, then multiply by 2. So my first goal is to find the 2 parts of the problem. So right here it says to add 5 and 6, and then it says multiply by 2. Those are my 2 parts of the problem. Now I need to decide, what should I do first? Because my second step is ask myself, what am I going to need to do first? Well, in this problem, it says then multiply by 2. So that's my clue that I need to do this first, because they want me to do this first, then do this. Okay, now I need to write an expression or write a problem and make it clear what needs to happen first using parentheses. So I'm going to say 5, and add is addition, 5 plus 6, and multiply by 2. Now, if I left it like this, people would think using PEMDAS, or order of operations, they should do this first. But since I want them to do that first, I'm going to make sure I put parentheses around it, and that's going to be their signal that that needs to be solved first. Okay, let's try another one. Okay, my next one says I'm going to subtract 4 from the sum of 8 and 3. Okay, so I need to look for my 2 parts. Well, one part is subtract 4, and the other part is sum of 8 and 3. Okay, so now here's the tricky part. What should I do first? Well, it says subtract 4 from the sum of 8 and 3. So to me it sounds like they want me to take 4 from this whole thing, which means I first need to find this. So I first need to find the sum of 8 and 3 and then subtract 4 from it. Okay, so now I need to make an expression and make it clear that I want them to do this first. So I can write 8, and sum means add, so 8 plus 3 minus 4, because and to make sure they do this part first, I'm going to put parentheses around it. Okay, My last one that I'm going to do with you is a little different. This time they gave me the expression and they want me to actually write the sentence. So this time they gave me 12 divided by 3 in parentheses and then plus 5. So they want somehow me to make it clear that I'm going to do this first. So I can use a lot of different language. I could say this is 12 divided by 3. I could say find the quotient of 12 and 3. I think I'm just going to say divide 12 by 3. So I could say divide 12 by 3. And then this part is add 5. Now, I want them to do this first, so maybe I can say then add 5. That's one way I could have written it. I could also have maybe said add 5 to, let's try that one. I could have said add 5 to the quotient of 12, and 3. I could have done that as well. Now both of those would tell me my two parts. So this one said divide 12 by 3 and add 5. And my clue was then. And this one says add 5 to the quotient of 12 and 3. So when you're writing your sentences, there's actually many correct answers that you could write. Okay, so let's try some of these together. Okay, on the bottom it says we want to double 6, then subtract 4. Okay, so first I'm looking for my two separate parts, okay, of the problem. So double 6 and subtract 4 are my two parts. So now I need to ask myself, which one do I need to do first? Well, this one's a pretty good clue because the then tells me this is going to come next. So first I'm going to double 6, and then I'm going to do this next. Well, double 6, we usually think of doubling as timesing by 2. So I'm going to say I'm going to have 6 times 2, and then I'm going to subtract 4. Well, since I want them to do this first, I'm going to put parentheses around it. Now here's the thing about parentheses. Sometimes they're needed and sometimes they're not. If I didn't put parentheses in this problem and someone went to solve it using PEMDAS, they would still do that first. So on this problem, the parentheses help, but they're not absolutely necessary. Okay? All right, our next one, we're going to read it again and look for our two parts. Divide by 2 the sum of 6 and 12. Okay, so I have divide by 2 is one part and sum of 6 and 12 is another part. Okay, so this is the hard part. What should I do first? Divide by 2 the sum of 6 and 12. Well, I think I'm going to need to find this first so that I can divide it by 2. So this is what I need to do first. So first I need to find the sum, which is adding, of 6 and 12. And then I'm going to divide it by 2. Okay, now this one I wanted to do first, so I'm going to make sure I put my parentheses around it. This one, the parentheses are absolutely necessary because if I didn't put the parentheses and I left it like this, following PEMDAS, people would divide before they add. So I need to make it clear I want them to add first. So that one would not work. Okay, here's on to writing the sentence. And remember, when you write the sentence, there's going to be many correct answers. So we're going to write a sentence for the following expression. So we have 4 times 5 plus 3. So I need to talk about adding 5 and 3 and then multiplying it by 4. So I could maybe say add 5 and 3, then, then multiply by 4. And that's pretty clear that I want this done first and then I'm going to do that. I could also make it maybe a little more trickier and say, find the product of 4 and the sum of 5 and 3. So this one says I'm going to find the product, which means I'm going to multiply 4 and the sum of 5 and 3. So I'm going to multiply 4 with the sum of 5 and 3. So there's many right answers for these. The key is you have to make sure you hit both parts and you made it clear which one you want to happen first. Okay, tonight's homework, you have 4 problems, and then please rate your understanding. Have a nice evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good night.